to another episode of the Creative Spin Podcast. Buckle up, you're in for a show.
All right, so welcome.
Thank you, Jamie.
To the Creative Spin Podcast, man. Gavin.
I'm super pumped, man.
I know.
I wanted to sit down with you. I mean, I think the first time we met, we vibed pretty good. It was filming another podcast.
Yeah, I know. I've recorded a couple of other podcasts that you were in with the Costa Group.
Yeah.
Right? And and it was one of those things. We kind of kept our contact there, and I've been following you on Facebook and seeing your adventures there and all the stuff that you're doing nowadays.
Trying to live it up, man.
Yeah, but tell the people out there who Gavin is and what are you all about?
The great question: who is Gavin? So for me, first and foremost, I'm a father. I'm a husband. My family is number one. I'm a very busy realtor. That's how we had met. So I work at Royal LePage State. We've had a crazy year with COVID going on and everything. But
we gotta dive into a little bit of that.
We'll definitely go into that. And then for me, personally, my personal life is, it's all about transformation and change. I was a very different person 3.5 years ago. I had a life-changing surgery and I had to change everything about my life. And since then, I have tried to tackle and be a part of everything that's cool. Everything that's cool and that, inspires me and gets me excited. I want to be a part of it. So
you're a young guy, but you've gone through a lot of stuff. How old are you now, man?
I'm 33.
Wow. But you've had some ups and downs in life, but
yeah.
But now you're kind of living your life, right? I think I see on your Facebook posts the positivity's there, man.
That's what I'm gunning for, man. It's very. I had the advantage. I just posted about it the other day. I had the advantage of staring death directly in the face and almost accepting that it was there for me.
What happened, man?
Full transparency, I was a former addict, an alcoholic. I lived very dangerously and very rough, and I was, it consumed my life to the point where it almost killed me. I received medical attention at the end, and it turns out I had something called infective endocarditis, and which is, it has a 60-40 survival rate. So, 60 sounds like a lot, but when you're laying there, it's not. It was very frightening.
Well, I can imagine. And how old are you then?
I was 30. I wasn't 30 yet. I was in my 29th year. Yeah. So I swore that if I survived, I would change every single thing about my life. I was a black hole of negativity. For as long as I was diagnosed with depression very young. It's something I've always struggled with, and it was a solution for me. The drugs and alcohol were a solution for me. It was the only time I felt comfortable in my own skin.
It's unfortunate that it becomes that excuse, right? We're always looking for an excuse when we're on that downhill, right? And it's always like, you always gravitate to what's not good for you. It's weird the way that our brain works and how human beings are, right? But
absolutely. It was very much an answer it was a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound.
Yeah.
Basically. And I had to keep replacing that Band-Aid over and over and over again.
But I think the message here is the same way that happens, there's the flip side, which is you also have a choice to just change your life around and make other choices and better your life. And dude, I'm so happy to see
Thanks,
that you
man.
were able to do that.
I'm very, very lucky.
And that's what I want to focus on is everybody's had a rough time. Everybody's gone through some rough stages in their life. But what I want to focus in this conversation is how you changed it around and how you fueled that positivity that, I want to live life to the fullest.
Right.
On the good side, right? Like after you got out of the hospital, what were the first steps to transform yourself into a more positive guy?
So, the positivity started right away, just the fact that I was alive. You know what I mean? Every second was a gift at that point. Every second. And it was, I always think back. So I started going to 12-step groups. Mm-hmm. And I remember in the beginning, I was so sick. I couldn't keep anything down. I was about 150 pounds soaking wet, where I sit in front of you now at about 200 pounds.
Of healthy muscle.
So, but anyways, at this one meeting, I remember watching a guy drinking a blue Powerade, and all I wanted, I looked at him and I thought, man, I would give anything to be able to drink a blue Powerade and not throw it up. That was all I wanted in that moment. That was everything to me. Anytime I'm not feeling grateful or anytime I start to lose some of that positive edge I like to keep, I think back to that moment where that was all I wanted. That would have meant the world to me in that moment, to drink that Powerade and not vomit it up and have everyone hear me puke because the bathroom's steps from the meeting.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell you, every time I have a Powerade now, I think about it. And anytime I want to complain about something, or, like you had said, everybody goes through something. Everybody goes through some shit.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear about your fucking problems. Nobody wants to hear about your excuses. It's, if you need help, find help.
Exactly.
But do something. The people that, kind of affect me the most are the people that complain day in and day out, but there's no change. They're sitting on the couch, eating potato chips, watching reruns of Harry Potter every day.
Yeah.
Do something. Get out there. So for me, it became exercise. It became, well-being for my heart, that I had to protect my heart first. Mm-hmm. So it started with little walks, 200-meter walks down the street, because that was all I could do unsupervised after the surgery, because I was just in a weakened state. And it just grew progressively over the last 3 years to the point now where, I ran 25 kilometers last week. I ran 10K this morning before coming out to see you. I lift weights. I do, my first battle, first and foremost, is my body. Complacency and laziness runs strong in me.
And are you feeling that because you've gone through this, and you're going through this new phase now, I noticed that you're posting a lot of stuff about that. Do you feel like you have somewhat of a, I wouldn't say an obligation, but you want to kind of pass on that message to other people that might be going through the same situation that you've gone through?
Absolutely. It does almost feel like an obligation, because there were people who inspired me in the beginning. And if I can be that for one person, just one, then it's worth posting that stuff. I post every single workout and run that I do. And, there's people that will say it's vanity. People are saying that I want attention. I don't give a fuck about any of that.
Yeah.
What I need is for somebody was going through the same thing as me to see that there's a way out, because so many people in dark spots don't see a way out. They don't see that light, but there's always a way out if you can work for it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And you just never know who you can affect with what you're posting out there. And this goes both ways. You see a lot of people posting the negative stuff, and that's going to affect people negatively. If you're on the edge, right, and you see a negative post about something that's related to what you're going through, you're going to feel like shit.
Absolutely.
But if you're
poison.
feeling like down and not good, but then you scroll and you find a post like one of your posts that's saying, you know what, today I felt like shit, but I still got up and I still did the workout and I still did all of this and I'm feeling great now. That might be that little bit, that little
be a
push
catalyst
that they needed to do it themselves, right?
Absolutely, man. And that's what it's about. It, like you had said, social media can be poison. And, and a lot of the times people do only post their best. Of course, I get the best angle of my muscles when I'm working out, because that's the shot that I want people to see. But at the same time, I want to make it clear that I don't always feel like doing this. I've had people say to me, well, it's easy for you. You love running. I fucking hate running. It's awful. I'm sweaty. I'm tired. I'm sore. But I do it because I have to do it, because once I win that battle, the rest of the day's easy, and I feel better about myself the rest of the day.
It's like kickstarting the day off, right?
Absolutely, man. It's better than coffee, which I also enjoy.
Which we love. The way. We're sponsored by no. So you do the running, you do the weightlifting, but I've also seen that you're into the jiu-jitsu as well.
I love Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, is that something new now?
I've been on and off with that. So I grew up in a boxing family. We were big boxing fans,
nice.
I can remember big moments growing up with my brother and my dad, and he'd order the Mike Tyson pay-per-views, and then he'd be cursing because it lasted about 13 seconds, and he paid that money. So I was always a big boxing fan. I boxed as a teenager. Always just been very much into martial arts and everything. Jiu-jitsu, when I first learned about jiu-jitsu and started learning a bit about it, it took me by storm, which it tends to do to people.
How long ago have you started?
I was training with a man named David Pilgrim, who was an excellent teacher, about 3 years ago. And then I was off and on, and then I was training at Vision Quest, which is a martial arts school in Binbrook, which is run by the fantastic Josh Hill and Scott McCovey. Now I have a very good friend that I met named Shaq Gordon, Gordon. He comes and trains me at my house because with COVID and everything, the schools are kind of shut down. So he comes to my place, and it's just so effective on so many levels, not just self-defense, but in terms of...
It's a mind game too.
It is. It's such a mind game. I just said it to him our last lesson. I said, it's so exhausting because, you know, you're thinking and you're moving and someone's trying to choke you out, and it's amazing.
Yeah, my take on that is, you know, I think most people who have never taken martial arts have a little bit of the wrong view about what martial arts is in a whole, because I think most people see it as, oh, you're punching, you're kicking, you're choking, but you're really not just doing only that. You're thinking about all that. Like, you have to be so concentrated in what is going on in that moment, so you don't get choked, you don't get punched, you don't get kicked. That it becomes a therapy.
100%. It's one of my favorite things during the week is that.
So I was going to ask you, so has that been helping you out too?
100%. Anything... I just love, for me, shit that's cool, man.
Yeah.
I got really into motorcycles once I got clean and healthy, and I love my Harley, and, you know, I love hunting, I love fishing, there's so much stuff, guitars. I made a joke not long ago, like, I would have a fucking panic attack talking to a guy who does characters because I wouldn't know what hobby to tell him because I have so many and I love them all, and you know, those are the things that keep me going. I guess my big thing for me is I love being a student. I love learning, you know that.
You're a curious guy?
I'm a curious guy, yeah. I like learning everything I can, and, you know, they say jack of all trades, master of none, and I'm okay with that. I want to learn and experience everything I can because, like, man, I was right there. I almost died, and I had so many regrets on that deathbed that things I didn't do and things I didn't try and things I thought I had time for, and in that moment I didn't, you know, so I want to experience things with my kids and my wife and myself and just doing everything I can.
And that's a great message because I think a lot of people, a lot of us, we don't need to go through a life-changing event. Sometimes all we need to do is stop for a second and realize, okay, we're just going fucking crazy with work, with all these projects, with everything and anything, and we're forgetting to live life. We're forgetting to enjoy life. And I always try, you know, I always tell people, stop for a second, man. Look back and I do that with my life all the time because I know me. I get into a million projects and
the hustle bustle,
and you know, a whole day goes by and you're like, holy shit, like what happened today, you know?
100%.
And you forgot to, you know, spend that extra little time with your kid and extra little time with the wife and you know, and I'm dialing back too.
Awesome.
You know, and one of the things actually with this whole pandemic that people, most people tend to complain a lot about, I try to find the good side of it. It's what I've been doing is saying, okay, you know what? I think now is the time for me to slow down and figure things out.
Absolutely.
And really just take one step at a time and try to figure that out. And try to get away from this whole, I mean, you can't even listen to the news nowadays.
I don't.
It's insane. Like, the news is so negative. Everything is so negative. Yes, I get it. I'm not putting aside the fact that there is a pandemic out there. There is this virus thing. There is this issue going on and people unfortunately passing away and all of that. I get that. But we need to look at the good side of things too. Like, we should be getting to be more human, cherish more those little moments
100%
that we can have with other people. It doesn't have to be just family. It's with anybody
every
you
single
touch,
human
right?
interaction. Exactly. Anybody you touch.
Well, now you can't
that.
touch. Now you can't touch.
6 feet, the 6 foot touch. But no, I agree. You know, I think it was Charles Bukowski had this quote saying, you know, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, we're spinning on this rock through a space that we don't understand with the only inevitability is death. You'd think we'd be kind to each other.
Yeah.
And it's so true. Like, we know nothing, Jon Snow. You know what I mean? We know nothing, but we're fighting with each other and arguing with each other and throwing out stats that we don't know is true or if we do know is true. And I'm not saying that, you know, I don't side with the COVID as false and fake news people, and I don't side with the people who are overboard on it. I think we should be safe. I think we should be smart, but at the same time, I'm gonna take care of my bubble, and I'm gonna worry about me and my side of the street, and I'm going to focus on that. And what can I do today to be better? And when you have that feeling, you can exude that to other people. And sometimes it's just as quick as a fucking smile to somebody, man.
Yeah.
Like, I know in my darkest days, a stranger would smile at me, and it could make my week. because I felt less of a crumb, less of a dredge to society,
Yep.
less of, you know, this worthless sack of nothing, because that was my image of myself. And nobody should feel that way ever, because we all matter. We're all here. We're all spinning on this rock through a space we don't understand. You know what I mean?
No, 100%. And when it comes to the business side of things, it really, you know, I think it affected everybody, right? And being in the real estate, how have you seen this? And I was going to ask, how has this changed? We obviously know how it's changed, where there, you know, you can't be close to people, but have you seen, my question is, how have you seen people change, like their attitudes towards when they're talking to you about the deal, or when, are they worried? Are they, like, what's the overall consensus that you're getting from people out there?
I feel that people are responding most to calmness.
Okay.
You know, because generally what's happening in the real estate picture as a whole is it's been a seller's market. The inventory hasn't been what it usually is. So, you know, there's less inventory, just as many buyers. So you're seeing a seller's market. It's a great time to sell. Harder time to buy. Still very possible. But, you know, I think there are people, again, it comes to understanding what's going on. And I think no matter what you're looking into, the importance of speaking to someone who's a professional. You know what I mean? And if it came to the media at whole, I'm not going to put my opinion out there. I'm going to talk to you, because I want to know from a professional.
Yeah.
When it comes to real estate, you know, I have people say to me like, well, you know, this isn't a good time to sell because of COVID. Well, no, the numbers say different. This is the best time to sell.
If there's a buyer for that home, it's the best time to sell.
And there's safety practices in place. We were kind of evolving. I mean, everything's, you see the way the world's going. You can order a pizza now and not even see the delivery driver. You don't even have to talk to a human being. Everything's going in that direction. You know, we were paperless before COVID hit, generally paperless, unless somebody specifically requested it. You can do everything through e-signature. You know, the showings, it's now just limited numbers, masks, hand sanitizer, just like anywhere else. But you're seeing the same numbers, just less inventory, because there's people who are afraid. But that, you know, that's part and parcel with the package.
How'd you get into real estate? What was that big step?
Oh yeah, that was a big step. That was, you know, it started with my wife. So I worked at the hospital for about 7 years, and part of this, you know, when I got sick and everything, my change that I wanted to change everything about my life, I wasn't happy there. I've never been cut out for a 9-to-5 job. I don't work well with supervisors for the most part. I've never been that person. You know, I need freedom. So my wife had said to me, you know, you're good with people. You've always been good with people. Have you ever thought about real estate? George Gillespie, my business partner and team leader, he, you know, he'd been in real estate a long time. He's someone I always respected. He was a personal mentor to me. You know, we had very similar interests. He's active in martial arts, and, you know, he's an active guy, weightlifting, cardio. He's always someone I've loved and admired. You know, I grew up being best friends with his oldest son. So I called him and I said, you know, George, would real estate be something that, you know, you think I could do? And he said right away, go for it, kid. You know, get your license. I'll take you under my wing. We can, if there's something you want to do, we can do it. And I immediately became infatuated with the world of it. It was the only time I've ever been encouraged to talk. Like, I've probably said 3,000 words already in this podcast. I like talking. It's what I enjoy doing. So any other job, I've been reprimanded for talking too much. This is the first time it was encouraged.
It pays off to talk on this one.
It's awesome. I get to talk to people and meet new people. And that's, we spoke about it earlier. I love human interaction. I love it. I love meeting new people. I love, you know, it's almost... Sometimes I feel like I'm a kid and the whole world is my playground. I get to meet these new kids and become friends with them. And
well, the cool thing about real estate, I mean, I'm not a real estate agent, but I feel like every single time you're selling a home or you're buying a home with someone, for those few weeks or months, you're part of that family. You're
totally.
You're part of that. This is probably one of the biggest investments that a family can make is by purchase a house or sell a house. Or it's a big move.
It's a massive moment.
And you're there.
It's crazy.
You're the most important piece, actually, because you're finding these people
it's crazy.
Their nest, right?
I love it, man. I love it, and I you know, that's part probably one of my biggest problems is I don't like letting go of people. So I'd say 90% of my clients I've remained friends with now.
Nice.
Because you get involved with these people, you meet their kids and you start to love these people, and it, I don't want to let that go.
So you're going to have a lot of Christmas cards going out. Right?
100%, man. I've got so many friends now. It's awesome.
That's
and,
good.
you meet people with different interests. Like, so, I got really, really into hunting and fishing because of clients I was working with. And,
really?
The husband in the relationship, he was into that, and he said, would you be interested in try it? I said 100%, and now I'm fully ingrained in it with this guy, and this guy's one of my good friends now.
See?
It's just a really, it's given me that. Recovery in general has given me that. I always felt isolated before. I felt like I was kind of a bit of a leather face, that I was, stripping off pieces of personality from other people to create my own. I had no identity. I didn't know who I was. Do
you think that was the age thing too?
I don't know. It was all the way up until I was 30. You know what I mean? At that point, you should have your identity. It
depends. My wife keeps telling me I still look like a little kid, but whatever.
I didn't know if I was with a group of guys who liked cars, I was a car guy. If I was with a group of guys who liked soccer, I was a soccer guy. I didn't have any confidence in my own.
But probably you were that guy too, right? Like sometimes. I think a lot of people say that, you can only like one thing. I don't think you can like just one thing.
I think we should all be Renaissance people,
right?
Where you're all over. I totally agree. But be truthful about it. I'd lie. Right? I needed such a need of acceptance that I would tell these people whatever they needed to hear for them to like me, as opposed to just being myself and being confident in myself. And, that changed so drastically once I was in recovery and learning about myself. And I'm so content now. The people that I have in my life are people that I want in my life. I'm not just looking for acceptance wherever I can get it. These are people. My best friend, I'm wearing a shirt, little promo, Rob Vino at Grey Harbor Tattoo. These guys are phenomenal. Some of the best artists in, arguably Canada.
Drop it.
Hit them up. My buddy Rob Vino, he's my best friend, and he motivates me every single day. We became friends after recovery. He's also part of that community. And, we motivate each other. We talk to each other. We keep each other accountable. And this guy is a guy that I don't need to fight for his acceptance. It's just been an organic friendship.
How important is that circle of friends?
So fucking important, man. So that's number one importance, is the people you're surrounding yourself with. They can stunt you, or they can allow you to blossom like a beautiful flower. It's so important to be surrounded with good people.
Yeah. It's the energy, right?
100%, man. It's huge. I think, like you touched on, I think arguably the most important part of our existence. We're tribal by nature.
Yeah.
Put yourself in a good tribe. If that person, if you're dreading seeing that person every day, get the fuck away from them. Don't let them invade your headspace.
Yeah, because they're gonna contaminate you, man.
100%.
And it's worse than a freaking virus. You know what I mean? It's
absolutely.
Like it can take you down. It can stop you from being who you should be. Right.
100%.
Right.
It's you become very isolated very quick, and it's just I've learned to set up boundaries. Obviously you're always gonna have people that you don't want to deal with. But to set up boundaries, I'm not going to let them invade my headspace. I'm not going to let them stay with me like a ghost from Insidious for the rest of the day. I'm going to have my moment with them, be the best I can for them, and then move on to the people that I've chosen to, kind of absorb their energy and them absorb mine.
And do you find, like, even going back to real estate now, so, you have your clients, do you find that now that you've been at the game for a while, do you find that they're bringing in other people with the same level of energy?
Absolutely.
Isn't that curious to see that? How that
works? It's a spider web of awesomeness. It really is. It's super cool. And, we've been very lucky, man. I can't say we've had clients that where I've really had to put up that boundary. We're very blessed with great clients. It's,
But I also think it has to do with you guys, with the energy that you guys are putting out.
That'd be cool. Yeah, maybe.
No, I truly believe so, because if you're putting out negativity, you're going to just attract negativity. That's
absolutely
my bottom line, right? So you guys, you're full of energy. You're positive. That's why you're getting the positive clients as well, and hopefully it'll continue.
Hopefully it'll continue. And I like to think that I don't think I look like the typical realtor. I mean,
Who is the typical realtor? I mean, think about
There's
it.
a cardboard cop. The typical realtor. For a long time, you see them, right?
It's changing, man. It's changing. I see that in everything, and even
everything's chinging.
Like, what's a graphic designer supposed to look like?
You're too handsome to be a graphic designer. You can't do it.
Well, I know. We all know this, but let's not dive into that side of modeling and all of that.
No, you're right, though. I think that it is changing in a wonderful
changing.
way. You know, we're becoming more accepting as a community. People are just into what they're into, and, you know.
And I think everybody's starting to respect everybody else's opinions. Which
is awesome.
You know, I think society is fortunately, we're starting to evolve in that sense. Like, if you're, it doesn't matter the color, the taste, the whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You're a human being, and people are seeing each other as human beings.
Absolutely.
I'm hoping that is the way it is. I mean, other people might have different opinions, but I'm kind of seeing that more and more now.
I totally agree with you.
Like,
I totally agree.
If you were in business, I mean, going back to when I started, like, I'm an old guy, so I started about 16, 17 years ago with my own business. You know, if I went to a meeting and I wasn't dressed properly, or if I, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, I wouldn't say a suit and tie, but close. People would kind of look up and down. Who is this guy? You know what I mean?
Young punk, yeah.
Now you walk in with whatever. It doesn't matter, because what matters is what that person can bring into the table.
Absolutely. What are you offering?
That's the important part. And thank God people are not saying, okay, that's what matters and it's not the suit. Because, dude, I can go right now to the store and rent a suit, come to the meeting, be a douchebag and not know anything about what we're going to be talking about. And, oh, he looks good. So, no, that doesn't matter.
What are you offering? Exactly. What's coming from here, right? And it's all heart, baby. That's what matters.
Last question for the real estate side of things before we take a little break is what has been the biggest change because of COVID? What has been the biggest change in your field, do you think?
The biggest change in our field, which thankfully I haven't, there was a lot of agents that weren't prepared for the technological. You know, it was coming slowly, and everybody knew that. There's a lot of old school agents.
All of a sudden, they got slammed with it.
It's necessary now. Now it's a requirement, and that scared the shit out of a lot of them. And you know, there was mass panic. You know, again, I'm only 33. I know I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm also not old. I grew up with that stuff, so it came super quick to me. Yep. So we were prepared, and we were heading in that direction anyways. But you know, for the most part, there was a lot of people that struggled with that e-signatures and stuff like that.
But ultimately, did it not make life a little bit easier?
It makes life easier, and it's better for the environment. You know, how many fucking trees did we destroy for e-signatures? You know
Jesus Christ. I remember when I bought my house, it's like, another paper,
I have a novel in my house of, you know, it just, I think it's more environmentally friendly. It's easier. It's more convenient. You know, we've negotiated deals from our couches now, which is very, very cool.
That's cool. That's always cool. We're going to come back to the conversation. We have a lot more to talk about, but right now let's listen to what our sponsor has to say. Today's podcast is brought to you by Workplace One, a company offering boutique private offices, co-working spaces, and virtual office solutions, as well as meeting rooms in the best neighborhoods of Toronto and Kitchener-Waterloo. Ideal for entrepreneurs, companies, and passionate business people. Workplace One is where you want to be with your business. For more information, go over to workplaceone.com. We're back.
We're back.
We were having a little bit of a conversation when the cameras were off, kind of, sort of, about, you know, being able to talk about the past with pride, because you are a result of what has happened, but you are who you are today because of all of that stuff, good or bad. But people, and this kind of goes back to what we were saying about society and people looking at if you have a suit or you don't have a suit.
Absolutely.
This is kind of the same situation. I think as a society, we're evolving and we're being a little bit smarter about this. Just because this or that happened to someone in the past, that does not mean that the person that we're talking to, the person that's in front of us, is that person anymore. That was a stage of life. I think back in the day, people would, you know, stamp you with, you know, you're this kind of person because your dad was that kind of person.
100%. The stigma was there.
That's how far back it was. Oh, his grandfather was like that. His dad was like, he's going to be like that.
Absolutely.
And I feel like, fortunately, we've kind of stepped away from that. And now we're going into different things of like different life experiences, like you were saying, you know, what you went through as a teen, and you were telling me the story that you were talking to someone, and it kind of reflected this.
Absolutely. You know, I have been hesitant to speak publicly about my past and addiction and, you know, my life in recovery because I feared that stigma. I was there at the tail end of that stigma and that judgment. And, you know, everybody by nature is a little...
society did plant that shit in our heads.
It was there. And everybody is a little judgmental. Whether somebody wants to admit it or not, you know, you see someone, but you don't have to be a slave to that first judgment. Your first judgment is there, fair enough. But now think about it, assess it, run it through your filter and see, okay, you know what, why the fuck am I thinking this about this person? And so yesterday I was talking, my neighbor who's an awesome, awesome guy, Dave and Kelly, you guys rock. His dad was there, and his dad is a former undercover police officer that, you know, was involved with investigating drugs and guns and things like that. And, you know, he was a man who fought everything that I was a part of. And I was talking to him and I was getting more comfortable with him, and, you know, I was getting good vibes. So I wanted to tell him, I wanted to be transparent about who I was in my past and just kind of gauge how he was going to react, right? I like to do that. It's just throw a little dynamite in the conversation and let's see what happens, right? And immediately his demeanor changed to such a positive, warm glow. And he said to me, I don't know you, but I'm proud of you. And, you know, it was such a beautiful moment of this understanding and acceptance. And, you know, he wasn't looking at me for who I was and the things I had done. He was looking at me for who I stood in front of him today. And that, you know, that convinced me, knowing this was just yesterday, and I knew when I came in today I was going to talk about it because it mattered so much to me. Because, you know, you see things, and like we talked about earlier with the social media and the poison, you read things online, you know, every addict should be dead, they made the choice, this and that, and, you know, however, whatever your opinion is, at the end of the day, I have 2 kids who look at me and I'm their father, and I have a wife who loves me, and a mother who sat in the ICU with me every single day while she was watching her son die. At the end of the day, all of us have a family who loves us, and there's somebody that wants us to come home. My actions could have dictated who I was. And luckily enough, I was able to live and get out of it and change my life. And I want to try to be that person that can stand in front of somebody now and say, you know, a lot of people when they made me, they would never even guess that about me. But now that I tell you that, where's your opinion? You know what I mean?
Will it change the opinion?
Will it change? And if it does, I think that person should look in the mirror at who they are.
Exactly what I was going to say. I think if it does change that person's opinion, then that person needs to change, not you.
Absolutely.
You can't do anything about your past.
I can't.
You can do everything about your future. But the past.
Past the past. What happened?
Everybody's got one.
100%.
I don't care.
We've all
what the
sinned.
fuck you're gonna say. Everybody's got a skeleton somewhere. You know, so, you know, think about it. You don't judge people just by what you think or what society's thinking.
Preconceived notions. And, you know, some of the best people I have met have been in church basements talking about horrific, nightmarish pasts that, you know, most people wouldn't even see in a movie. And these are some of the best people I've met now that they've transformed their lives.
So now what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Right?
What are you going to do? What about music, man? I see you grabbing your guitar and going. When did that start? And how's the, what's the whole story behind all that?
My dad bought me my first guitar when I was 12 or 13. I should be much better. But, you know, I self-taught myself. I always loved it. I loved, so my first love was always words. I love words. I was reading from a very young age. You know, the English language is just so magnificent to me. I love, you know, anybody who can masterfully, you know, kind of rearrange it is a great soul, in my opinion. But I was writing a lot of poems, writing a lot of words, and, you know, back then I didn't want to say I was a poet because it sounded weak. So I figured if I picked up guitar and learned guitar, now I'm a musician and I'm writing songs.
All of a sudden it's a song.
That was cool.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of where it started. And I played on and off, you know, just especially my nature back then. If it was hard, I'd quit. But then I'd pick it up again, and I just was kind of on and off. Kurt Cobain was an idol to me, so I was learning a lot of power chords and things like that. And then it just, you know, so that's something actually my whole life, it's always been a part of my life, which is cool. That was pre-recovery and post-recovery. Music has always been a staple. Guitar, writing, that's always, you know, I have some work published, fiction that I'm very proud of. That the art side of things was always, you know, a big part of my life.
When are we going to see some of that stuff come out?
Oh, you can see it now. It was published. So I had a novella published in 2012, and then some short stories published in literary journals. A lot of it was back then. It was
cool.
I haven't written fiction in a bit. I've wrote a lot of poems and songs and things like that, but I haven't written any, long form short fiction, anything like that in a bit. But yeah, no, there's a lot out there. I've written a lot. Yeah.
Well, listen, you love talking, you love writing stuff. You've been in quite a few podcasts. When are you starting your own podcast, man? What the fuck?
I would love to. I know, because I love this. This is awesome.
You got the energy. You love talking. I mean, hello.
This is fun, man. I love it.
What's stopping you, man?
It's probably that.
Okay, I get it. It was my little push. I have to push you now, right?
Yeah, well,
there you go.
What's stopping? I guess it's a fear of acceptance again, right? Is anybody going to watch? Is anybody going to listen?
Who gives a fuck?
I know. That's the way you got to think of it, right? Who gives a fuck?
Listen, there are 2 people watching us right now. One of them is my mom, and that's it.
Mom. It's no, you're right. I know. You throw your flag up there and see who fucking salutes, right?
Listen,
I totally
you'd be
agree.
so surprised at this game, because when we started the podcast, the Creative Spin podcast, there's always something like, I've always been into the radio thing and all of that stuff. I was always an admirer of people who did radio properly and all that. So, when I started doing this, I said, okay, this is great for my company and all of that, but I'm having so much fun talking to people.
Yeah.
And interacting with people. And for me, it's more of, I want to learn more. And this is like the perfect way to do it, because I'm talking to people, I'm learning from people. And in the beginning I was also like, oh man, should I talk about this? Should I talk about that? And this is why the Creative Spin kind of came to be, because when I was talking to my wife about what are we going to name this podcast? Like, is it going to be just for, like, I don't know, I'm a designer, is it going to be just a creative side of things? And I'm like, but I like gadgets and I like, everything. I'm one of those that I like talking about everything. Dude, there has to be a spin to this. There has to be a spin to this. And I'm like, okay, the spin.
Creative spin.
Spin. That's how it came to be. But it's amazing how crazy it is to think that we're talking here and there's someone that can be all the way in Australia and be watching us or listening to us.
That is crazy.
It's crazy.
That's fucking nuts.
And when I started getting contacts from Australia, let's say, or from anywhere in the world, I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Like, who wants to listen to me?
That's where my mind's at. Who wants to listen to my bullshit?
What is going on? Like, what are these guys doing? Why do they want to? But people out there have a lot of things in common with you. You don't know them, but they have a lot of things in common with you. And they want to sometimes, listen to someone else's conversation, because it makes them feel like, okay, I'm not the only guy out here thinking this way.
Right. Yeah. Good point.
And sometimes when it comes to podcasting, I always say, if you're doing a solo podcast, then it's all you, right? It's all about you and what you think and all of that. But if you bring in some guests, some friends, some people all of a sudden you're now expanding that knowledge base, right? So now it's not just what you know, it's about what your guest knows as well and what they can provide and throw into the podcast
More relatable stuff.
And it just it's almost like, and this is why in the beginning I said, my goal is to make you forget about these cameras and forget about all this stuff, and we're just having a conversation.
You did a great job, man.
There you go. Thank you very much. We'll be here all day. But my goal is that because I want the person that's watching this or listening to this podcast to feel like they're sitting right there.
Right. They're just part of the conversation.
I want them to be part of that conversation, because that way, now all of a sudden, you're not talking about an audience, you're talking about a group of friends that are sitting down around the table and just shooting the shit and talking about whatever comes to mind, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, have you seen, because you've been filming podcasts for a while, your shit. You must have seen the evolution of what's happening now in podcasts. Like, they seem fucking huge.
There was a lot of factors. Podcasting has been around for 10 plus years now. Most people didn't find it appealing because it wasn't big, right? So people drift to where there's attention, right?
Yeah, we're like sheep.
That's it. It's like, oh, everybody's talking about Instagram. Woo, let's go over there.
100%.
Now everybody's TikToking. Whoa, let's go over there. And that's fine. But sometimes there are mediums that are very good, and people are just not paying attention to them because it doesn't have that audience there. doesn't mean that it's not good. And I think this is what happened with podcasts, because it was almost like a closed little circuit, right? You have to download the app to be able to listen to the podcast.
There were steps,
phones,
hoops.
The phone started the whole thing, but that was it. I think these little guys over here is what changed the game,
right?
Because then all of a sudden, you do have to download the app, but once you have the app, oh shit!
The whole world's at your fingertip. I can listen to a podcast on bananas if I wanted to find it. Like there's literally something on everything.
Anything. And now it's like it just boomed, because especially this year with COVID, that's one of the things that I noticed big time, was people saying, okay, got some free time. Let's start recording.
Yeah.
And these gadgets, they're nice. They're colorful. They have lights. But you don't need that. You need one of these.
You just need a phone.
Again, you just need the same phone you're using to listen to the podcast is the same phone you can record the damn podcast.
You have the ability.
We use Anchor as an example. You could record your podcast directly to Anchor and boom, it's out to the world. How crazy, how bonkers is this?
It's crazy.
Like it's insane. And I think a lot of people are getting wind of that. And they're realizing, you know what? I might be doing for the first couple of months the podcast just for my friends to listen to. But guess what? That friend is going to show it to another friend. That's going to show it to another friend. And on we go.
So on and so forth, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have a groupie. Group of people. A lot of people that like what you're talking about, right?
Right.
And when I meet people like you, and I told you this the first day that
you 100% did.
When we were actually recording the podcast for the Costa Group, in which you were the guest, I told you right away, dude, you've got the energy.
Yeah, you said it right off the bat.
Yeah, you've got the energy, and I think that's
walk out of the room with my big head after that one.
Exactly. I think you were wobbling a little bit, but I didn't film that part, so sorry. I would show the footage at the end, but. But my thing is, do what you're good at. Find what you're good at. Because a lot of people want to get into podcasting because it's cool now. Yeah,
you listen to Joe Rogan and you want to go be a podcaster.
Of course, you're going to be Joe Rogan, right? But then nothing happens. They're just like, people listen to the first episode because they're friends and whatever, but then it's like,
it fades.
Whatever. And my reasoning for that is you just started doing it because you wanted to be a part of that group.
Right. And that's why you said do it fucking anyways. Who cares who's watching?
Exactly.
Yeah, because if you love it and you want to do it, you're going to do it regardless.
Well, if you're going to do a podcast, you got to do it about something you love, talk about something you love with people you like as
Absolutely.
well. And that's when it's going to work, right? Because if we were here talking and if I was just here with the questions, what do you... That's not going to work, man.
No. It'd be boring for both of us.
Because the audience out there can pick up right away if you're being natural at it or if you're being fake at it.
Right.
There's no getting away from that.
No, there's no hiding. There's no hiding right now.
Your voice, if you're recording video, the way that you're acting, whatever, people will pick it up.
Totally. If I'm sitting, hi, Jamie, I'm really...
Or you're trying to be, hi, this
Mr.
is...
Radio voice?
Yeah. All of a sudden, I've got the radio voice.
Well, I have been flexing the whole time. I hope it shows.
You know what time is it? It's the same thing goes back to the gym, right? The gym thing, like guys go to the gym and start, lifting out those weights, and they're just doing it so that they're showing off.
Right.
This is the same thing. If you're doing it, do it with passion.
Right. Yeah, I can get behind that. Absolutely.
And you know what? Just off the bat, for you, I think it's do you, man. Don't get into this or do you.
Yeah.
You've got that personality.
Well,
man.
I feel like when I've thought about it, it's like, I'm so scattered with all the things I love. But like you said, I think there's always somebody that's going to relate to that. Like, oh, look, I do a lot of shit too. And,
and you've got so many topics. You got, from your business side of things, you've got your music, you've got your the whole positive side of life. You got your tattoo life as well. Like, you've got so many. You've got your friends. It's the bikes. Dude,
there's a lot
just
of
right there, you've got like 10 episodes right there.
You're right. No, for sure. You're right.
And anybody that's listening or watching this podcast, comment below if you want to see his podcast. Just let's see.
There
let's
we go.
Experiment. Let's see.
Throw
let's
the
see
flag up and let's see who salutes.
If we get a few comments, that's it. I'm sorry, man. You're gonna have to start. I'll help you out.
I'll be coming right to you.
I'll point you in the right direction in what to do and how to do it, and just do it, man. I think you're gonna have so much fun doing it.
Well, because it's exciting, and I do love it. Like I was excited for this. You know, we had it scheduled last week. There was some scheduling changes. I was so disappointed, and I was so pumped. Like I've been looking forward to this for 2 weeks now. So that it shows that it does excite me, which is what I love.
And you brought up, I guess we can call him the king of podcasts, Joe Rogan. He started his podcast because he was sitting down with his friends every single week to talk shit.
Right, just chill.
And now he just does that with the microphone and some cameras around him.
Yeah.
But he still sits around.
Is he considered the godfather, Rogan of podcasting? Is he considered that in this world,
I don't know. I think especially this year, he's kind of got the spotlight.
He monetized the shit out of that too, right? What was 100 mil?
100 mil. Well, some people are saying 150. Wow. I don't know. The number is out there, but
wow.
I would take 100 mil.
I just 1% of that would make me really happy.
I would be okay with that.
Cool.
I would be okay with that. But yeah, I mean, definitely Spotify is they're really investing in the field. I mean, they've seen it, and it's not something recent. Spotify's been putting big bucks behind podcasting because they saw where things are going. People no longer want to be stuck to a guide. Like, back in the day when we were kids, you want to watch that show, you'd have to be in front of the TV at 5 o'clock. Otherwise you would lose it, or you'd have to record it and go back, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
People don't do that shit anymore.
No,
they want to
dead.
go onto YouTube. They want to go onto Spotify. They want to listen to it when they want to listen to it, when they can listen to it or watch it, right?
Immediate gratification. They'd make wonderful junkies, all of them.
But the podcasting, this is why it became so good, because you could just download this a podcast right now. You can listen on your way home.
Absolutely.
So
I literally listen to a podcast on the way up here because, man, does it pass the time.
I'm telling you that in my car, I think 9 out of 10 times it's a podcast playing.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, I'll listen to the news, or I'll listen to a little bit of the music every once in a while when the kids are in the car and whatever, because they think podcasting is boring for them. Because
I get
obviously
that.
It's not a podcast for them. So, but at the end of the day, it's like, fuck, if I want to listen to something that I'm curious about, that I like to listen, and sometimes it's about the personality of, like I listen to a lot of the Joe Rogan stuff because I like the guy's personality.
Right. Yeah, no, there is that, right? I'm a big fan of Tim Kennedy, and anytime he's a guest on one, I love him because he's just a fun guy. I like that.
Exactly. And these guys, what I like about them is that they never bring in this certain, it's not going to be just about this topic kind of thing. It's
right.
You switch it on, it's like, okay, what are we talking about today? And that's what I like about it. A lot of people don't. A lot of people like that specific podcast that talks about only mugs, and that's what they listen to.
We can do a kick-ass podcast on mugs.
We can sell the shit out of this. But, you can do that. But I think someone like yourself, just go be you, man. I think it'll work.
I don't work well in restrictions. It's a character flaw of mine. I would need it. I would need the freedom to be able to talk about whatever the fuck I want, because I get claustrophobic spiritually very quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly. My wife has the patience of a saint to be with me for 8 years because it's like
what are you doing now, Gavin?
Oh, seriously, I was just joking with my friend about it. I said she wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden I came home with a samurai sword. She's always
there's a shop right around now.
She's always waiting for the next thing, and thankfully, I think you need to find people who will accept that with you. I've had it said to me with judgment, like, oh, what are you into now? Like, that's a bad thing. We have such a finite amount of time.
Yeah, those are the guys that you check mark and put them
get
to the
out
side.
of here.
Get out of here.
I want to get into everything.
Absolutely.
Everything there is. I want to learn everything I can because we're here for this tiny little space of time. We're a speck of nothing in a bigger speck of nothing.
Exactly.
Let's make the best of it, man.
Until the aliens come and they show us, all the other specks of dust that are out there with more people and more things.
Right, and shows how insignificant we really are. So let's,
this is getting crazy today.
Take it to the next level and enjoy it. I think, in this crazy world of politics, I do think you should have an opinion. And I love that we're in a place where you can express that opinion.
Absolutely.
But I'm not an overly political guy. I honestly, to me, it's the illusion of choice. We're given two people, and we get to say, you get a choice, pick between these two people. Out of the fucking 100 millions of people on this goddamn country. I get to pick
yeah.
two, and that's my choice. I'm not overly interested. I'm going to worry about myself and what I do, and I'm going to pay attention to that enough where I can make the right, most informed decision. But I'm not going to let that be who I am or my identity, or I can't spend more than 10 minutes a day thinking about that, because it seems like such a fucking waste of time for me. I want to enjoy my time, and I want my kids to smile every day, and I want them to pick up on that energy and make up for all the time I lost in that 30 years before I changed everything. I want them to just live it up right from the beginning, and they're doing that, which is awesome.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Gavin, thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Jamie, for having me.
Positivity ride.
It was
today.
an honor.
It was really cool. I'm hoping that I'll be a guest on your podcast when it comes up.
Hondo B.
And we're going to be on the lookout for you, man.
Right on, brother.
Okay.
Make the comments. Let's see. If they comment, then I'm going to call Jamie and we're going to do it.
All right. Let's do this.
All right, man.
All right. Thank you so much, man.
Take it easy, Dave. Thank you.
All right.